This is right outside of Hearst Castle, San Simeon. We're going to Hearst Castle today, and we got some turquoise and blue. Check out the area. Big Sur had a giant close-off. Because of that, they have no traffic going this direction because Big Sur has a mudslide that's going to be closed to January 26th. So we're trying a giant tour on US 101 for reasons.
Proceed about half of a mile on Hearst Castle Road.
Entering Hearst Castle. Okay, we're at Hearst Castle. This is the Hearst Castle entrance. So, Catherine, have you ever been to a castle before?
Yes, I have.
You have? Where was that?
Italy.
Italy, yeah. How was that?
Beautiful.
Oh, well, this is your first time in the California castle, huh?
I believe so.
Yeah. What do you think you're going to expect here?
I have no idea.
You might find some wild animals here, like zebras.
488 meters to a hilltop that was often sunny when the fog shrouded the coast during the summertime. Later in life, Mr. Hearst said that the road was so steep and the way so rocky that he only managed by hanging on to the tail of my pony. George Hearst knew California's landscape well, having traveled west as a miner from Missouri in the 1850s looking for gold. The geology that caused these steep hills to rise from the ocean floor millions of years ago was the same factor that brought precious minerals like gold, silver, and copper closer to the Earth's surface, allowing them to wash down the high mountain creeks of the west. Though thousands came west looking for easy riches during the gold rush, few succeeded. George Hearst was assembling with the cattle. Originally, this land was home to Native Americans of the Chumash and Salinan peoples, who lived there for over 9,000 years. It was claimed by Spain after 1769, and then settled by California cattle ranchers during a brief period of Mexican ownership. California joined the United States in 1850, soon after gold was discovered. George Hearst bought 3 ranchos and continued to run cattle on the hilly expanses above the Pacific. And 150 years later, this is still a family cattle ranch. The Hearst Corporation runs over 2,000 head of grass-fed beef on these hills today, largely black and red Angus. The cattle graze much as they always have, and depending on the season, you may see them along the hillsides. William Randolph Hearst was 50.
Look at that. Yep.
Typically, it should be about summer this year is very mild. This is really unusual, okay? So enjoy it while it lasts. Typically, we're baking up here at this time. If you can move away from the stairs, please. Thank you very much. To avoid any kind of problem. People falling back down the hill. We can push back that way too, just to make sure nobody's hurt. Thank you. There we are. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well. On behalf of California State Parks, welcome to this. This is the Grand Rooms Tour here at Hearst Castle. My name is Richard. I will be your tour guide for about the next hour. Now, on this tour, you're going to be learning and visiting all about the Grand Rooms. These are the 5 large entertainment rooms, the social rooms back in the day, and they're all inside the big house Campo Grande, Mr. Hearst Castle. So where is the castle? Well, the castle is behind me on top of the hill. You cannot see it. This building is not the castle. This is one of 3 luxury cottages on the hilltop. It's called Casa del Sol. The castle, the grand rooms are about 30 minutes away. So as a result, for the first 30 minutes, the first half of the tour will actually be outside. We will start over here on the West Terrace with fabulous view of the Pacific Ocean. The view is absolutely spectacular today, you'll soon see. And then we'll head on over to the most famous outdoor pool in the world, the Neptune Pool. And from there we'll start climbing the hilltop. We will stop off at 4 Egyptian statues, the oldest artifacts on the hilltop. And by that time, 30 minutes into the tour, we will enter the big house, Casa Grande, and the 5 grand rooms therein. Now back in the 1920s, the 30s, and the 40s, the grand rooms had a couple of purposes. One was for the enjoyment and comfort of Mr. Hearst's guests. The other was to show off his amazing art collection, as you will soon see. The tour will end at the world-famous indoor Roman pool with amazing gold floor. Without a doubt, the fanciest bus stop in California, all that in about 65 minutes. Now, this is a one-way tour. We're not coming back here. In 65 minutes, I got to put you back on the bus. After the tour, unfortunately, you cannot stay up here, okay? Along the way, I'll tell you a little bit about the social history, the architecture history. Anybody know? Julia Roberts? Julia Morgan. Amazing woman in her own right. If you have any questions along the way, let me know. Let me start by asking you a question. Anybody been here before? First time? You've been here? How many times have you been here?
A long time ago.
Yeah. Anybody else been here? How many times? Once. How many times? I've had people on this tour who've been here at least 15 or 20 times, you know. That's not unusual, okay? Anyway, before we push on, I just have to remind you of the rules. Did they play the rules tape on the bus? Did they play that? The late great Alex Trebek speaking to you from the Jeopardy grave. How strange is that, right? Well, anyway, let's see if you were paying attention. The only liquid you can consume up here is water. The only thing you can touch are the handrails. We're going to be doing a bit of climbing, about 100 steps to the big house. Also, please do not touch anything inside or out. That also includes the flowers, the fruits, the blooms. They're all historically accurate and part of the museum and the art gallery. Photography, go for it. However, inside, please turn off your flash. No selfie sticks, tripods, or drones. Anybody got a drone here? This is a drone-free zone, okay? Now, no eating, no smoking, no vaping, or gum chewing. If you have any garbage, we have an international Hearst Castle garbage can over there. Please use it at your leisure. Now, this is the biggest request as we stop at each exhibit. I'm talking. Please take your photographs as I'm talking, okay? Don't worry, you will not hurt my feelings. But when I move, we all have to move together. This is a timed tour. There's a group in front of us. There's one behind us. We don't want to crowd them, and they don't want to crowd us. And helping us navigate the hilltop this afternoon is my friend and fellow guide. This is Anne, right? Say hello, Anne. There you go. She is going to be following behind. She's like our concierge. If you need to drink water or maybe a restroom, please see Anne for all your personal needs, okay? Any questions before we begin? This is the Grand Rooms Tour, right? We're on the Grand Rooms Tour. I guess you are now, right? So a little bit of context before we begin. You know that beautiful road you came in on Highway 1? That does not open until 1937, but they will start building up here in 1920. 17 years before Highway 1 goes in. In 1920, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're at the end of the road. We're off the grid. We're pretty much on the moon here. All the trees that you see here were planted by William Randolph Hearst. In 1920, there's nothing up here but grass, rocks, rattlesnakes, and a whole lot of mountain lions, okay? And the architect, Miss Morgan, is very often wondering, why is Hearst building up here? And I quote her, many, many miles from civilization. Well, our first stop, the West Terrace, it will answer that. It's all about the spectacular view. Let's go check it out. The Pacific Ocean coming right up. Here we go. So construction on the hilltop will begin exactly in February of 1920. In February of 1920, Mr. Hearst, the man who built this castle, he's 56 years old. He's living and he's working in New York City. He has a wife, Millicent, and he has 5 little boys. In 1920, Mr. Hearst is considered to be the world's most powerful newspaper publisher in the world. Today we would call him, I kid you not, the world's original media mogul. He is the guy who first puts the word mass in mass media. He not only owns 20 of America's premier newspapers, he owns 50 magazines, he owns radio stations, and down the coast in Hollywood, he is a major film mogul. A film mogul. He will produce in his lifetime over 155 movies, and most of those movies are without his girlfriend, Miriam. Anyway, when he starts building up here in February 1920, he needs an architect, and that woman's name is Miss Julia Morgan. When Miss Morgan starts pouring her specialty, reinforced concrete, here in February 1920, she's 48 years old. This whole hilltop is project number 503. This is not her first project, not her first rodeo, not by a long shot. Now, ladies, here's a history question for you. It's February 1920. Can Miss Morgan vote in a federal presidential election?
Yeah.
No, she's a second-class citizen. She can't vote. Can you believe that? She will go on to complete over 700 projects and is considered to be the most prolific architect in American history, male or female. She never advertises. All her business is word of mouth. Can you believe that? But she's working with William Randolph Hearst, who's not only the world's original media mogul, he is the world's original brander and influencer. His life basically depends on advertising, the very thing Miss Morgan despises, okay? Hearst is 6'3". Miss Morgan is barely 5 feet in heels. Hearst is 250 pounds. He will eat anything in front of him. Miss Morgan survives on 2 things, I kid you not. It's documented. Gallons and gallons of hot black coffee, and if you look at her pockets, you'll see rulers and racers and set squares and a whole pile of her favorite chocolate bar, Hershey bars. She loves Hershey bars and black coffee. Sound familiar, right? I'm pretty much living on that stuff even to this day. Anyway, Miss Morgan hates being interviewed. Don't talk to me. She hates having her photograph taken. She says, it's not about me, it's about my work. Whereas Hearst is the first guy, believe it or not, to send a photograph electronically. Did you know that? The next time you drag a JPEG into the cloud, you can thank Mr. Hearst for doing that for the very first time. Anyway, Hearst and Morgan will put their minds together and they will design and build what you will see here today, a beautiful 16th century Mediterranean-inspired village. Work will actually last for almost 20 years, from February 1920 all the way through to May of 1947. Almost 20 years of constant building, but you know what? In that time, they will never finish building Hearst Castle. So please remember, what you're looking at here today really is an incomplete architectural project, a moment frozen in time. So why were they unable to finish? Well, we know 3 reasons. One reason is that 2 years after World War II, in May of 47, Hearst is living up here with Marion, his girlfriend. He's 84 years old. He's suffering from severe heart disease. He's basically dying. He has to leave the hilltop for the last time to be close to the medical facilities, namely down the coast of Beverly Hills. When Hearst leaves in May of 47, he takes the money with him, and when the money leaves, work stops in place. So what you see here today is exactly the way Hearst left in May of 47. Nothing's changed and nothing's been added. It is a time capsule, a moment frozen in time. Another reason is taxes. You know, as long as you were building back in the day, you didn't have to pay property taxes. And guess what? Hearst never paid property taxes. How do we know he was allergic to taxes? Because in 1935, he was the biggest tax cheat in America. He owed Uncle Sam and their money $2 million. So yeah, Hearst had something with taxes. Another reason is for almost 20 years, Hearst is pretty much making it up as he goes along. Miss Morgan will call this politely his changeableness of mind. And she said, you know what, I didn't mind because he let me change my mind too. A really good example of Hearst making it up is where we're standing now. This is the West Terrace. But believe it or not, if you look at Miss Morgan's master plan in 1920, which I have, this terrace is not supposed to be here, neither are the other 3. So where did this terrace come from? Well, we know in 1927, Hearst is in Italy, is visiting all these famous villas and palazzos and palaces and castles, and he realizes all these rich Italian guys have terraces. He comes back in 1920 and says, Miss Morgan, I want terraces. So she gives him the West Terrace and 3 more terraces. But even today, this terrace is not finished. If you notice over here, we have a polygon. We have a polygon right here. Right in front of you right here. And we have one over here. These were going to be fountains to match the fountain behind me here, which is the famous David fountain. There were going to be a trio of fountains, but when Hearst leaves in 47, he takes the money and works it off right here. These fountains will never be completed. On top of this fountain would have been this famous Greek sculpture, Discobolus, you know that guy right there. And over here, this sculpture on top of that fountain would have been Nike, the goddess of sneakers. You know her, she would have been on top of that fountain. But as I said, when Hearst leaves in 47, work stops here, never to be completed. Now, even though work is going on for 20 years, that will not stop the constant stream of literally the who's who of the day making the pilgrimage up the hilltop to visit Mr. Hearst. As a guest, you may have stayed in this. You can go horseback riding in the hills off to the east there, the San Lucia Mountains. Hearst has the world's biggest private zoo behind the castle. Elephants, giraffes, zebras, polar bears.
Yeah, we had all the money in the world, you know. When you have all the money in the world, you can do what you want, right?
Yeah. Like, wow.
Yeah. We'll come into one of the pools. As the man said, the pool, nothing was ever finished here. The man just built and built and built. Look at this pool.
There we are. are. Before us is the Please Don't Lean or Touch Against the Marble. Thank you very much. As you can see, before us is the world-famous outdoor Neptune pool. What we're looking at here thematically, as far as the overall design of the hilltop, these are the Roman ruins on the outskirts of town, and town being upstairs behind me here. Now, once again, if you look at Miss Morgan's plans, believe it or not, in 1920, all this is not supposed to be here. What's supposed to be here is a beautiful landscape rose garden, surrounded by a beautiful, fully clover reflecting pool. So what happened to the rose garden and the reflecting pool? Well, we know in the summer of 1924, Hearst will bring his family, his wife, and his 5 boys west from Manhattan to check on progress in the hilltop. And before they came west, they said, we want a pool. So Hearst said to Miss Morgan, bye-bye rose garden, give my family a pool here in the summer of 24. Notice on the bottom of the pool, you'll see a black tile oval. Family pool was dead center inside that black tile oval. A very rudimentary, very basic concrete hole in the ground, nothing fancy. Man, they got their pool in the summer of 24. 4 years later, Hearst is always thinking bigger is better. He'll expand the family pool. The second version is defined by the inner black tile oval. While at the same time, the pool wall is a massive stair-step waterfall. I kid you not, the statues atop the temple are actually atop the waterfall. Hearst doesn't like it. Miss Morgan, rip it out. Oh, above ground pool, you can actually walk out of this pool without bending over. Now, the number one question we get about this pool is, was she alive when she finished? Yes, she was. When Hearst dies in 1951 at the age of 88, Miss Morgan is about 81 years old or 80 years old. She'll actually close her downtown San Francisco office. Can you believe that? And she will tell her staff to burn all her personal papers, everything. Miss Morgan is intensely private. Remember, she hates advertising, she hates posterity, and we know she proves she's good to her word. She'll burn all her papers in 1951, sadly. Really too bad, right? Yeah. Anyway, let's head up to the Neptune. Especially we have evening tours in the fall. We do, yeah, spectacular. Where do you live?
I live in Manchester.
Oh, shucks, we take people here all the time. Big time. We're woefully understaffed.
Sit down.
Great job. Like history.
I'm gonna sit down for a second.
The top of the waterfall. Those 3 statues are right here. So this board will actually rip on the waterfall and she'll put in this terrace circa 1928. Once again, it's called Neptune Terrace, overlooking its namesake. Peaks are extinct volcanoes, including the one in the distance there. It's hard to believe that distant mountain is 37 miles away. That was the original northern borderline of the Hearst family ranch. We're talking 360 degrees, all the way down to Highway 46 and probably 50 miles of pristine, untouched Big Sur Ocean, but he practically owns all of Monterey County in the north end of San Luis Obispo County. But 5 miles east of that mountain is the Hacienda. That was the Hearst Ranch headquarters. That's where the cowboys of Vaqueros used to hang out. That was the center of the beef producing operation. Now over here we have the smallest cottage on the hilltop. It's called Casa del Monte, or House in the Mountains. This building is historically significant because it all begins Casa del Mar. You can just see the rooftop through the leaves here. It's finished by the end of 1924 at 5,600 square feet, just a little cottage here on the central coast. So by the end of 1924, all 3 cottages are up and being used by Hearst and his guests. While the star of the show, the big house Casa Grande, you can just see through the leaves here. It's not started until summer of 22, and to this day it's still an incomplete architectural project. Now they're building up here for almost 20 years, and you're right to assume that Miss Morgan probably had an apartment up here, maybe a little pied-à-terre, one of the towers. No, she never stays here overnight. In fact, from 1919 to 1940, listen to this, she will work almost 16 hours a day up in the Bay Area. In the evening, she'll catch the 8 o'clock Lark. The Lark is the first-class commuter train between Oakland and Los Angeles. She'll hop on the Lark at 8 o'clock. She'll hop off at the village of San Luis Obispo at midnight. She'll check into the Anderson Hotel. Hearst the next morning will go and pick her up. The car will bring her to the hilltop. They will walk the hilltop. Hearst will say, change this, do this, change this, do this. Miss Morgan will then delegate that work to her permanent on-site reps, an architect, head of the departments, etc. And by the evening, she's back on the train. Can you believe that? She's bouncing down to LA or back home to San Francisco. She's juggling at least 10 other projects besides this one. I can only think of one time that she actually stayed here overnight because the weather, the roads were all washed out. You know what? These are the most famous people in the world. She could have handed her business card to presidents, prime ministers, ambassadors, movie stars, moguls, CEOs. She never did that. She's all business. She's here and she's basically gone. Absolutely amazing. She's not only Hearst's architect of record, she's his general contractor, she's the employment manager. So she not only designs, positions all the buildings, she hires the guys to build them, she will build them, and when she's done, she's also the interior decorator. She's also Hearst's landscape architect, and she will install and design, actually design and install for him beautiful Italian gardens, which will carry us over to our next stop, the oldest artifacts on the hilltop, 4 Egyptian statues from the central Egyptian town of Luxor, Egypt. Any questions? Doing okay? Yeah, amazing, huh? Yeah. Just stay here, okay? Let's go check out the Egyptian statues. Everyone, let's go. Come on this way.
I wonder why that was what happened.
ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਿਲਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਸਾਰਾ
Yeah.
Oh, how strange.
ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਦੇ ਜਾਂਦਾ
There's the ocean again. That's the tour guide.
ਮਨੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਵਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੰਦਾ ਆਪਦੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਈ ਨੇ ਥੱਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਫਿਰ
Yeah, I think Disney got some ideas, don't you think?
Where's that guy?
Yeah, I think he disappeared on us, didn't he? I think I think Disney, when he stayed here, did get some ideas. Huh? There's the ocean.
There we are, right behind you, spectacular view of the Bay of San Simeon. This is the only sheltered deepwater port in Los Angeles and San Francisco then and today. Now remember, we're talking a time there are no interstates, okay? Basically country roads, when it rains, all bets are off. The interstate was the waterway. Back in the day, you would have seen hundreds of steamers and schooners and fishing boats and pleasure crafts and ocean liners traveling between the Panama Canal and probably Canada. Today, we're lucky if we see even one sailing boat. Nothing out there. It's pretty much a marine sanctuary today. Over here, we have the biggest cottage on the hilltop. It's called Casa del Mar, House of the Sea. And as you can see, once again, Miss Morgan, she's positioned it to take advantage of that spectacular view. 5,600 square feet, an absolute Gilded Age gold mausoleum inside. To check it out on the cottages and kitchen tour. This building is historically significant because this is where the first family will stay. In fact, it was designed for Hearst's family. They all stayed there between 1924 and 26. The hilltop from Manhattan. But in 1926, something happened to change the direction of her story. In 1926, Mrs. Hearst realizes my husband, William, has a girlfriend, a mistress, a silent film star named Mary Davies, who's, wait for it, 34 years his junior. In 1926, Mrs. Hearst says, you know what, William, I know what you're doing, enough is enough. They will separate, they do not divorce because she's Catholic. She and the 5 boys will go back and live in Manhattan in a palatial mansion on Long Island. Well, Casa del Mar in 1926 will just become another guest cottage. Well, Hearst and Miriam will take out the residence of the Star of the Show, the big house in Casa Grande. As I said, Walt Disney was here in 1945. 10 years later, in 1955, he opens Disneyland, the world's first theme park. You think he got a few ideas? We certainly think so. In fact, this is the world's first theme park, ladies and gentlemen. No roller coasters, no water slides. What we have here is you're going back in time to the 16th century France or Spain or Italy somewhere. And of course, as you can see, you're beginning to realize what Hearst and Miss Morgan built, a 16th century hilltop village. So you may be wondering, what are Egyptian statues doing up here? Well, we know in 1922, a very famous archaeologist named Howard Carter, he will discover King Tut's tomb untouched by grave robbers in the central Egyptian valley of the Valley of the Kings. Howard Carter will introduce King Tut's gold to the world, and that will create something called Egyptomania. You've heard of Swiftomania, you've heard of Beatlemania. In 1922, it was called Egyptomania. The world was crazy. building of the big house here. You see that white balcony? White balcony. Everything below the white balcony is the original 2-story, 10-guest bedroom guest house. So this building is only supposed to be 2 floors and 10 guest bedrooms. When Hearst and his family are staying in the big cottage at Castle Mar. But when Hearst separates from his wife, he'll say to Miss Morgan, his architect, please add the balcony floor. The balcony floor is the 3rd floor. So about 1928, that will become Hearst and Marion's private domain. As guests, you're not allowed up there. And Miss Morgan will add another guest suite for the 4th floor. So we go from the original 2-floor, 10-guest bedroom guest house to a 4th floor, 115 rooms, 68,500 square foot. Yeah, it looks like a castle, right? Maybe even looks like a church, maybe even a cathedral, or maybe even an Islamic mosque. Well, it does contain all those cultural influences because it was inspired by a little church in the southern Spanish town of Ronda. But you know what? Technically, officially, and I quote this Morgan directly, it's simply a large, closed entertainment home, basically a party house designed for the comfort and enjoyment of all Mr. Hearst's superstar friends. All right, now, as a guest, as I said, during the day, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. But in the evening, Hearst and Marion will require that you attend 3 social obligations, and no exception, you're expected to show up. The first social obligation is the evening cocktail at 7:30. After that, it's dinner after the cocktail, and after dinner, it's the movie, all in succession. Oh, I know. So at 7:30, the beautiful Spanish grill gates will open, and yes, that's real gold. If you see gold up here, it's the real deal. It's not a 22-karat leaf or 24-karat gold pane. So as the doors open, we will enter our first grand room, the assembly room, where the cocktails are waiting, but unfortunately we cannot pass through the gate here. There's a very delicate Roman mosaic just inside the gate. We can't walk on it. As a result, we'll enter our first grand room, the assembly room, to the south entrance. And as we do, please stay on the very front. And who wants to open it? Anybody want to? I'll beat you to it. How many times do you get to open the castle door?
How come we had to be at 7:30? I don't get it. Oh. Yeah, weird, huh?
Staff quarters. So Miss Morgan will add this wing around 1929. On the ground floor is Hearst's state-of-the-art kitchen. Above it, 12 staff quarters. It's off with any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to try and answer them for you. Please send the card. Come on, room over here. Thank you very much.
That big book.
Please stand the card. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please stand the card.
That was there. What do you think? Very nice, sweetie.
Here we are. Come on in. Please stand the card. Thank you very much.
Those are tapestries, huh? Are those tapestries?
So as you can see, we're finally inside the big house in Casa Grande. This is our first grand room. The name of this grand room is the assembly room. And back in the day, this was the social center, the social hub of the hilltop. And basically, Mr. Hearst a very luxurious living room up here in his ranch on the Central Coast. This is the second largest room on the hilltop at 2,500 square feet. Style-wise, loosely based on the 16th century Italian Renaissance, maybe the kind of great hall you would have found in the Florentine Palazzo back in the day. Now, as I said, even though this looks like a castle or a church or maybe a mosque, it's really designed to be an entertainment home, basically a party house for Mr. Hearst's guests. So how did you get invited up here? Well, if you were making headlines, if you were in the news, Hearst will want to talk to you, and one of his top lieutenants will give you the call. He will also give you instructions for how to get up. He will say, everybody will meet at the Los Angeles train station, probably 8 o'clock in the evening. You will board my private train. My private train has a sleeping car, a bar car, and a dining car. My private train will take you north to the village of San Luis Obispo, where early in the morning you will disembark and my private limousine will drive you the rest of the 45 miles up to my ranch. Not bad, huh? My private train, my limousine service my ranch, and this is where you arrive, 1927, 28, in the middle of nowhere. So what Hearst doesn't tell you is, wait for it, the last 25 miles are basically a cattle trail, unpaved, okay? When it rains, all bets are off, okay? But this is where you get absolutely amazing. You can see how word gets back to Hollywood. If you see Hearst Castle, as a result, it becomes the hottest invitation probably west of the Mississippi. But you know what? It wasn't all A-list superstar guests. Once Hearst will invite a newspaper boy from Manhattan, that paper boy sold the most Hearst subscriptions, and the paper boy will get the call from Hearst. He says, boy, bring your parents up here, I want to talk to you. So this little paper boy from New York City spent a whole week on the hilltop with his parents, rubbing elbows with the absolute social elite of the day. Now, as they said, Hearst was considered to be the world's original media mogul. He's also considered to be, at that time, the world's greatest art collector. In fact, he's responsible for buying, for warehousing over 25% of the art in the country. That's 1 in 4 art objects owned, warehoused by this guy, William Randolph Hearst. We have about 23,000 unique pieces of art on the hilltop, and you may think that's a lot, and it seems like a lot, but in the scheme and scope of Hearst collecting, this is not even a drop in the bucket, okay? He buys most, if not everything you see here at auction on 5th Avenue, and yes, it's all legal, it's all legit, nothing illegal or nefarious about it. And everything he wants to ship west of Miss Morgan, he'll put on rail cars. It will take almost 100 boxcars to ship all this artwork west of Miss Morgan to 4 giant warehouses that are still there at the foot of the hill today. As I said, Miss Morgan is not only the architect of record, she's a general contractor. She'll design all the buildings, she'll hire the guys to build it, and she will build them. Now, believe it or not, there's actually no structural wood up here. In fact, everything you see here is reinforced concrete. Look at the ceiling, a beautiful 16th century Italian ceiling. And look at the beams. The beams look like wood. No, they're actually plaster. It's all reinforced concrete, as you can see, where these tapestries are missing here. That's all Miss Morgan's reinforced concrete. Why so much concrete? Well, this is California, earthquakes and forest fires. You want to survive them, concrete is your best bet. Remember, they learned their lesson during the great San Francisco earthquake of 1906. These tapestries are actually, they're not missing, they're actually out for their yearly cleaning, their yearly restoration. Will be back in probably a couple of weeks or so. Now, as I said, at 7:30, as a guest, you're expected to be in this room for the evening cocktail, your first of 3 social obligations. So around 7:30, you and all your fellow guests are entering the room through the beautiful vestibule there, and you're crossing over an original 2nd century Roman mosaic. The guests coming through that door there can actually be divided into 2 groups. Over here we have Hearst friends. These are the high society people. These are the corporate CEOs, the CFOs, the COOs. These are the titans of industries, the inventors, the politicians, the presidents, the ambassadors, the Vanderbilts, the society people, the Astors, the Fricks, etc. Well, over here we have Marion's friends. Marion's friends are the absolute stars of Hollywood, actors, actresses, movie producers, movie moguls. Please turn off your flash, ma'am. Yeah, thank you. And the high society people are just dying, just gaga to meet the Hollywood crowd. Doris Duke, meet Clark Gable. John D. Rockefeller, meet Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, etc., etc. And bringing them all together is the love of Mr. Hearst's life, his mistress, the silent film star Marion Davies. Marion is a huge star in the silent era. Her weekly salary in our money is $150,000 a week. She's second only to Mary Pickford. And as you're enjoying your evening cocktail, there was lots to do in this room, as we know. Historical photographs tell us there was actually a billiard table here at one time and a ping pong table over there. And on this Wurlitzer piano, maybe Charlie Chaplin is entertaining with a little song and dance, or Bob Hope, or Bing Crosby, Irving Berlin, Hoagie Carmichael, or maybe even Mr. Cole Porter himself. This table we know was covered with Hearst newspapers and magazines. Well, the table at the south end was actually, there was actually a Monopoly board down there. Monopoly will come out in 1936. Man, they played a lot of Monopoly in this room. We know that Marion would absolutely clean up. But if you don't want to play Monopoly or ping pong or read a Hearst newspaper, guess what? We have high stakes poker at the end of this room. Imagine playing poker with maybe the Warner Brothers, the moguls from Warner Brothers, or William Fox, the 20th Century Fox, or Howard Hughes, the aviator, A.P. Giannini, the man who founded the Bank of America, President Calvin Coolidge, President Hoover, Joseph Kennedy, the head of the Kennedy family, maybe even the assassinated President John F. Kennedy himself. All I can say is bring money. So where is Hearst? Well, everybody's enjoying the evening cocktail. Well, we know by 1935, Hearst and Marion are living here permanently. And Hearst is working remotely, 3 floors up in his private studio. That's 2 years from where Highway 1 goes in. All from upstairs, 40,000.
All right.
Good question about the clocks. Well, it's timeless. It's timeless. Right? Good question. Good observation. Right? Yeah.
How many chairs again?
I think 22, 24. Yeah. 2, 4, 6.
What is this? What is that?
22. You can move along, please. The best
Sit down.
photographs are from that end of the room. I'll kid you not. Yeah, please move on. Thank you very much.
Sit down.
The name of this grand room is the refectory. As you know, a refectory is a communal medieval dining room. If you've seen the Harry Potter movies, Harry and all his buddies eat in a refectory just like this one. In fact, before they made the first Harry Potter movie, the Harry Potter production team actually came up here from Hollywood and used this room for inspiration and research, but they did not shoot any of the Harry Potter movies here. Now, our first grand room, the assembly room, loosely based on the 16th century Italian Renaissance. By entering this room, we've actually gone back in time to the Gothic period, here circa 13th century. One characteristic of the Gothic period are these pointed arches. You can see one on the face of this 15th century French mantelpiece. And down below is the largest fireplace on the hilltop. Actually, look at the size of that thing. They actually burned old trees back in the day. Notice the beautiful Gothic arch above the doorways, also above these beautiful 16th century French windows, and also above the musicians gallery to your right here, and also carved in these fabulous 15th century Spanish choir stalls. We also saw choir stalls in the assembly room. Back in the day, the choir stalls were basically used as wall paneling. Basically, the wainscoting took the place of wallpaper. If you were very rich, the trend on 5th Avenue in New York City was to have choir stalls as wall paneling. It was a high style back in the day. Now, we first could not find a Gothic ceiling. This morning, actually wanted to build one. The first thing will take so much time, cost so much money, so they had to compromise, and they installed the 16th century hand-carved black walnut ceiling from a convent, we do believe, in Rome. It consists of a variety of Christian saints and martyrs in relief. Look at these things, absolutely beautiful. Directly above us here, we have the Blessed Virgin Mary on the crescent moon. Behind her, we have St. George slaying the dragon. St. Francis of Assisi is in the northeast corner. And above this couple right here is the patron saint of architecture. And you know her, that is St. Barbara or Santa Barbara back in the day. Now, as a guest here, please remember, if you want to eat, you've got to do it in this room. There are no kitchens, restaurants, cafeterias, Starbucks, anywhere else in the local. Now we're finished. Remember, then and today, the Hearst Ranch is a massive beef-producing operation. This morning, we built a huge poultry farm. Hearst looked away trying to save the woman who he loved from killing herself with alcohol, which he was never able to do. Now, imagine all these people are enjoying themselves over dinner, and also they had entertainment. Typically, the musicians, they never really stayed up in the musicians' gallery. It's too narrow. It's very narrow like this. You get kind of vertigo up here. So typically, the musicians or the entertainers would walk around and entertain as everybody was eating. Hearst loved country music. His favorite band was the Sons of the Pioneers. You may not know them. They're very old, but the star of the Sons of the Pioneers was a cowboy called Roy Rogers. Hearst would sing tumble and tumbleweed all day. He drove his kids absolutely crazy. Notice the informality of his dining room table. There's no linen. That famous actor Cary Grant, he was here over 40 times. He said, you know what, every time I ate in this hall, I could not believe I was actually using a paper napkin and getting ketchup from the original store on a bottle. Why such informality? This is not china. It's a very cheap earthenware called Boonesville Willow. This is not solid silver. It's silver plate. And that kind of glassware you can probably buy in IKEA. We do believe this was Hearst's mother's dining room camping table when Hearst camped at the hilltop as a boy back in the 1870s and 1880s. Very much a nostalgic homage to his camping days on the hilltop with his parents. And what did he put on his hot dogs and hamburgers? Probably ketchup and mustard. You would have seen A1 sauce and Worcestershire sauce. Radishes, pickles, you name it, all in the original mason jars. In the morning, for breakfast, peanut butter, jams, honeys, and this whole table was piled high with breads and buns, etc. Now, when dinner is finished, Hearst will typically stand up and say, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the evening movie, but please give me an hour. I want to go up and check on my media empire. In 1 hour, I'll join you, and we can all watch the But as you're waiting for me, you can enjoy a cigarette at our next grand room, the smoking room. Any questions about this grand room? And we will enjoy it. Grand room is the morning room. It gets its name with the beautiful morning light rising over the San Lucias at dawn. You can see off to the east there. This room is basically the smoking room because, as you know, back in the day, everybody smoked. Over 90% of America smoked. In fact, doctors said smoking was a healthy habit. Sir, you have asthma, I'm your doctor, go buy a pack of Lucky Strikes and smoke all of them. They thought that constant, expansion and contraction of lungs was actually healthy, but we do know it different, I think, right? But we do know from the historical record, every morning the first staff will put up dozens and hundreds of fresh packs of cigarettes, Lucky Strikes, Parliaments, Pall Malls. So as a guest, Pall Mall, you know Pall Mall, right? You're old friend, right? Marl, well, maybe no, right? All non-filtered. So as a guest, you could wake up in the morning and pick up where you left off last night. Now, as I said, ladies actually use this room particularly after breakfast or lunch or dinner because the door on the left is the powder room. The door on the right leads into Hearst state-of-the-art kitchen. In there, he has some of the world's very first Frigidaire refrigerators. One of those is a dedicated guest refrigerator, so if you're a guest anytime during the night, go right on in. Cookies. Yeah, come on in. As you can see, this is our fourth grand room, the billiards room. Now, back in the day after dinner, typically the women would all go this way and play cards somewhere, while the men all went this way and ended up playing billiards in a room just like this one. But you know what? Hearst is a big believer in gender equality. The ladies after dinner, if you want to come in here and smoke cigars and play billiards with the gentlemen, absolutely no problem. Hearst believed in gender equality. He will get this from his mother, Phoebe Hearst, one of the original suffragettes, a real sponsor of women's progressive movement back in the Bay Area in the early 20th century. Hearst believed in gender equality is evidenced by some of the women who ran and published some of his premier American newspapers and magazines. In fact, a woman named Alice Head will run his vast UK operations. And obviously, Hearst's best example of his belief in gender equality is his architect, Julia Morgan. Now, Hearst is very often asked, why did you hire a female architect? Hearst will say, you know what, I did not hire a female architect. I hired the best architect in the business, who just happened to be a female. And that was Julia Morgan, because her specialty was that brand new technology, reinforced concrete. So ladies, you want to come in here and play billiards on this original 1930s bronze.
This one has no pockets, but that one has pockets. I'm gonna have to battery again. Air piano. Sorry, Catherine.
Yes, please sit on the bench. Please avoid the chairs. Thank you very much. Fifth grand room, as you can see, first state-of-the-art movie theater. This theater is ready in 1930 for the first guest.
Oh, tennis courts. Hope you feel okay.
Here we are. Come on over. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. Please be careful. Stop. Thank you. Stop. It's close. Yeah, this way, our next stop is the famous indoor Roman pool. It's actually beneath the far tennis court. Miss Morgan will build a Roman pool between 1927 and 32. It'll take her 5 years. When she's done, it's 200,000 gallons of cold mountain spring water piped down from the mountains that we see off to the east there. Guest said it was pretty hot. It was actually heated to a very balmy 85 degrees. Guest said, you know what? It's like swimming in the greenhouse. The pool is actually 80 feet north to south. It's 30 feet wide. It's actually a very deep pool, 10 feet deep end to end. The reason why it's a diving pool. You notice on the far wall there's actually a diving platform, and underneath is a shallow end at about 3.5 feet. Now you will notice the pool is actually a dark blue. It's actually, the bottom of the pool is dark blue. It's supposed to be...
Look at this pool, Catherine. Oh. What do you think of this pool?
Wow, this had 2 pools.
Yeah.
This one's fancy.
Yeah. Well, as the man said, it's like going in a greenhouse. It's pretty warm water, though. And wow. I'd like to swim in this pool. Wow. Does anybody still swim in this pool? Does anybody still swim in this pool, you think?
He said the family comes once in a while in the summertime.
Right.
There's 62 people that are, you know, inheritance of sorts.
Oh.
And they come here and swim in the pool.
Oh. Wow. That's gold down there, you said, I think. Wow. And it's 10 feet deep, too. You could dive in it. I'd love to swim in this pool. Yeah. Yeah, mixed in here, huh? Wow. So, Catherine, what did you think of Hearst Castle?
It's very beautiful. I actually like the pools better than the castle. There's kind of a medieval vibe inside the castle, but the pools were kind of like, one was a mosaic on the inside and the other one was like kind of Greek mythology.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. One thing I had an interesting thought that in the Depression, people were out of work and these people didn't care about the Depression at all. I thought that was kind of interesting. At Mr. Hearst, and no one thought about the Depression at all. Anyway, so this wraps up for today. I'm Johnny 2B David.
I'm Catherine.
We're signing off. Have a good night.